I love the informality of cut garden flowers, but some gardeners prefer a more formal look. For thousands of years, devotees of the art of bonsai have been carefully training trees and shrubs to look just like nature, only in miniature. This Scheffler bonsai, commonly known as an umbrella plant, is one of the few that will do well indoors. However, as horticulturist Lynn Steiner and Bob and Pam Hampel will show us, most bonsai really should live outdoors. Let's join Lynn and Bob.
Bonsai is an area of horticulture that holds a fascination for many avid enthusiasts. We're here today in the garden of Bob and Pam Hampel in White Bear Lake, Minnesota, where we'll see many beautiful examples of bonsai. And later, Bob will show us how to take an ordinary garden shrub and turn it into a bonsai tree. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Lynn.
Nice to be here in your beautiful garden.
I'm glad you could come.
And here we are outdoors, and the trees are outdoors.
Well, bonsai trees are outdoor plants. They are trees. They're not houseplants. They enjoy living outside during the summer. Those that are hardy to the area can stay outside year-round.
Oh, okay. Tell me a little bit about this tree, Bob.
That's a Japanese garden juniper. We've styled it with some dead wood on it for interest. We're trying to create the illusion of age.
And that, to me, is the typical bonsai that I might think of. But now I see you also have a deciduous tree here as a bonsai.
Bonsai is an art form. It's not a type of plant, so we can use anything with a wooden stem. We're trying to create the illusion of age in a miniature version, nature in miniature.
Okay.
And so we can use most any plant material. We're looking for something with a small growing habit and something that we can style.
And this one here, how old is this one?
That tree is probably about 25 years old. It's a Hinoki cypress, comes from Southeast Asia, and that's where the art started. About 2,000 years ago in China, potters were selling their wares, and they put something in the pots to show them off. So about 800 AD, the culture of China was taken to Japan, and about 1900, the art form moved to the United States.
Now, Bob, tell me about the purpose of the wire on this tree.
Well, in the creation of a bonsai, every branch is in a specific location because we want it there. That's part of the art form. So we'll wrap the branch or the trunk with wire, bend it to the position that we want. The wire will stay on for one or more growing seasons until enough new wood is formed to hold the branch in that position. Then we take the wire off.
So every branch on the tree is carefully planned and thought out by the artist.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, where do you find most of the trees that you used for bonsai, Bob?
Well, this one, for example, we bought as a bush at a local landscape nursery. And we styled it as a bonsai several years ago. And alternately, we can find trees in the wild. This one came from the Rocky Mountains. We actually collect some of our trees.
Let's talk a little bit more about the age of some of your specimens. This one looks old to me.
Well, this we found naturally dwarfed, naturally stunted in the mountains, and we find growing under those conditions that these trees grow at the rate of about 100 years per inch in diameter. So this tree is about 250, perhaps 300 years old. Wow. We styled it as a bonsai about 10 years ago.
Very, very fascinating and exciting. I think it's time for us to go find out how to do our own.
Okay.
So, Bob, what are we working with here today?
Well, this is a Shimpaku juniper. It's a type of tree that you would find at a nursery center.
Okay.
And that makes very good bonsai material.
Okay.
This tree is probably 6 or 7 years old.
Any specific reason why you chose this one out of the nursery row?
Well, it looked good, it's healthy, it's got a lot of material to work with. Doing a bonsai is much like carving a duck decoy. You start out with a block of wood, cut away everything that doesn't look like a duck, and what's left has to look like a duck. So I want something that has enough material here that I can start with a bush, cut away everything that doesn't look like a tree, and end up with a tree.
Okay, all right. I see a lot of tools laid out here ready to use. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the tools?
Well, bonsai, like any other activity, has certain tools specific to the use. We have Japanese variations of tools, such as this. This is a Japanese shears, and this is the American counterpart that you can buy at the local nursery center. Japanese wire cutters or American wire cutters that we've just ground the tips off of.
I see, okay.
Japanese pliers and American pliers, which are considerably less expensive. These are about the only tools that we don't have a direct comparable for. This is a branch cutter. It's a concave cutter. It creates a predictable wound that heals better than most other cutting devices.
Okay.
This we call a root hook. This we use for teasing roots out whenever we're repotting or root pruning. Now, are we going?
Are we ready to get started?
Okay. And let's see, let's take this one off too.
Now, some people might worry that you're hurting the tree when you do such drastic pruning.
Well, actually it stimulates a lot of growth, and so it's not a bad thing. Okay. And now I'm just cutting away those things that I don't think look like a tree. I'm going to put some wire on this tree and we'll start making some bends.
Okay. What kind of wire is this that you're using?
This happens to be aluminum wire, but the average person will probably use copper wire that they buy at the hardware store.
Okay.
You're going to use wire about 1/3 the diameter of the branch that you want to bend. And I will carefully wrap each branch. This is about as exciting as watching paint dry, but it's very necessary to the style of the tree.
So you're actually forcing these branches to grow just where you
Just
want
where I
them
want
to
them,
grow.
yep. In the interest of time, I have another tree that I've already wired up. Now this tree has the wire on it, and I'm going to bend the branches to the position that I want so that it looks like a tree to me. We'll bring this one down, and this one over here like that, and we'll move a branch back here.
You can see why it's important to have a healthy, well-watered tree to be able to maneuver it.
Yes. These trees, the greatest mortality is at this point, the original styling, but there's a 90% chance of survival on this tree. They do quite well.
So you're giving it a more horizontal look.
I want to get the branches out in a flat plane.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to look like an old tree. And young trees, you'll notice the branches grow up towards the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with older trees, the branches come down, and that's the illusion that we want to create. And at this point, I'm about ready to put it into a pot.
Okay. Now I noticed all the trees we saw out in the yard have very shallow pots, and you're using one here.
There's a very good reason for that. Over the hundreds of years that bonsai have been done, relationships have been established, and they find that trees look best if the depth of the pot is equal to the broadest diameter of the trunk.
Oh, okay.
And they find that if the pot is 2/3 the height of the tree, it looks best, the width of the pot. Depth of the pot, you don't have much choice of. That's up to the potter.
Okay.
Now this tree is going to be over-potted because this is the first time that it's been potted, and so we want to make sure that it survives, and so we'll give it a little more depth.
Oh, I see. Now what have you done here to the bottom of the pot?
Well, bonsai pots have gaping holes in the bottom, and that's so that we don't hold a lot of water. Water creates growth, and we're in the small tree business. We don't want trees to grow rampantly, so we
these
have to
are
provide...
much larger holes than you would find in an ordinary houseplant pot.
Mm-hmm. And we've put a screen in the bottom just to keep the soil in. So now what we have to do is remove a lot of rootage to keep the tree in balance. And we're going to have to take off about 2/3 of this root mass. And when we go grubbing around the roots, I have an old bow saw that I can get right into the dirt with.
So no mercy.
No mercy. However, what we're faced with here, if we don't take off as many roots as we did top, the tree is not in balance. There's not enough top left to provide for the needs of the roots. And that works vice versa.
Another one of those standard horticultural practices that all gardeners need to know about and practice.
Yes. Sort of thing that your third grade teacher told you never to do, mess around with the roots, right? Now what this is going to do is to stimulate root growth, and in a year's time we'll have more roots in that pot than we know what to do with. We'll hack at it a little more here. Now ideally we'd get most of the nursery soil out here and replace it with bonsai soil, but we'll do that next time we root prune.
And what is the soil that you use for bonsai?
Well, we use a very fast draining soil. It's actually a soilless mix. We use a mixture of kitty litter, chicken grit, and peat moss.
In equal parts?
Equal parts. And that is pretty much location specific. They might use something else in other areas of the country. But we find that that formula works well here.
So you're putting very little nutrients are actually in that soilless mix.
We want to control the nutrients that the tree gets. And we do that with common old household fertilizer. We'll fertilize on a regular basis every couple of weeks or so at half strength with a balanced blend of fertilizer.
Okay.
Something like Peters or Miracle-Gro or something of that nature.
Okay.
Most trees have taproots. Taproots do nothing for the tree other than to hold it in the ground. So in lieu of a taproot, we're just going to wire our tree in this pot. Let me get this out of the way. And if you don't mind, I'll look at it so I can see what's happening here. There are a lot of good books on bonsai, and you can pick up many of them at your local garden center. Okay, so here's your bonsai soil.
Okay.
We're just going to work this in around the root ball. Want to make sure that there are no voids or gaps in the pot.
Now, many people receive bonsai for gifts, and so it's already given to them at this point, and then I hear complaints of them not being able to keep it alive. Any tips for those people?
Well, usually it's because people treat them as house plants and they set them in the house on top of the TV set. As we talked about earlier, these are trees. Okay. They enjoy living outside. They need the full spectrum sunlight. They need the dew in the morning, the wind, the rain. If you want to grow a tree indoors, you can find certain varieties of trees that normally grow indoors, the sort of things that nurseries sell as house plants. Ficus is a good one.
Okay.
Some of the azaleas, some of the boxwoods will grow indoors. But things like junipers or pine trees are outdoor trees and they must grow outside.
Okay. This looks great, Bob. I'm very impressed. Now, I know that your bonsai endeavors are a joint effort with your wife, Pam, and she promised that she would show me some of your more unusual specimens over in the garden. So while you're cleaning up here, I'm going to go meet up with Pam.
Good.
Hi, Pam. What are you up to over here?
Well, hi, Lynn. I'm watering my bonsai trees. It's something that we have to do every day with bonsai trees.
Every day.
They only hold about enough water for 1 or 2 days.
This is just beautiful. A grove sitting on here like this. Tell me about this one.
These are little golden hinoki cypresses that I picked up in Memphis, Tennessee a number of years ago. And they really caught my eye as being very bright and cheery. And I put them together in a grove, and we do this quite often in bonsai. One of the reasons is we can use quite young stock.
And the age of that one?
That one was put together in about 1987.
Very nice. And how about this one here? Now I see
well,
this is another deciduous plant.
We can use fruiting and flowering trees for bonsai also. This is an azalea, and this time of the year it's beginning to drop a few leaves, but in the spring and May and the first part of June it's completely covered with just beautiful salmon-colored flowers.
Oh, I need to come back to see
I
that.
think you do.
That sounds beautiful. And the age of this one?
This one's probably about 40 years old.
40 years
and
old.
It's been trained as a bonsai for about 12 years.
Okay. I'm just fascinated by the age of some of these. Could you show me one of the really old ones?
Okay, let's go look.
Okay. Oh, this does have quite an old look to it, Pam.
Well, Lynn, I must tell you, it's a little bit of a fake. The deadwood on this is very, very old, 300 to 400 years. It was once alive when we got it, and it was a California juniper which came out of the Mojave Desert. But it didn't like our growing conditions, so it promptly died. Because it was so beautiful, we decided to implant a young Shimpaku juniper in a groove in it. And now our dead tree is living again.
It's very interesting, very nice. This has been a pleasure, Pam. You really have a beautiful setting here for your bonsai. I can see why so many people become addicted to this part of horticulture.
It's very easy to become addicted. Thank you.